My daughter slid a manila envelope onto my placemat. Surprise. Inside, $400,000 in my debts, due Monday. When I said, "They're not mine," the coffee pot lifted and burst across my chest. Minutes later, patrol lights painted the walls. What piece of evidence turned their family theater into felony charges? Before we continue this incredible story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another inspiring story you won't want to miss. The manila envelope sits on Victor Reed's placemat like a second plate. Lena stands in the doorway with a bright smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Surprise," she says, sliding the envelope beside his coffee. October light sharpens the steam. Victor pulls the flap and paper sighs across the table. Statements, signatures, columns of numbers that climb like frost. His thumb pauses at a total that doesn't make sense. Caleb leans on the counter, arms crossed, voice smooth. "It must be paid by Monday." He taps a page as if tapping a vein. "We can't let them take the house." Lena's breath trembles on cue. "We're in this together, Dad." Victor reads again, slower, engineer steady. Dates stutter. The ink is wrong. A pen he never uses. The loop on the R looks borrowed. "These aren't mine," he says, setting the top sheet down like a hot pan. "I didn't make these debts." Silence thins the room. Caleb shifts, blocking the doorway. "Families fix problems," he says. "Be reasonable." Lena's smile hardens. Then the coffee pot lifts, small and ordinary in her hand, until it isn't. The arc is quick, precise, practiced in anger. Scalding coffee slashes Victor's chest. Heat bites through flannel. He sucks air and pushes back his chair, pain ringing like a bell. "Get out, old man," Caleb says, low and satisfied. "Today." Victor steadies his hands on the table, eyes clear despite the burn. The envelope glows with numbers and lies. Everything in him wants to shout. Instead, he looks at the window, at the fence beyond, at a path that does not include begging. Later, red and blue wash the kitchen wall. A knock, measured. Here's the promise. Evidence will turn family theater into felonies, and a boundary will prove what love actually looks like. The house wakes the way Victor likes it, slow and orderly. October light moves across the kitchen tile, touches the refrigerator magnets, and lands on Margaret's old mug on the counter. He warms it with water first, because she always said a warmed cup keeps coffee honest. The kettle hisses, the radio murmurs low, and the morning smells clean. He lays out his newspaper, folds it into thirds, and sets a pencil to mark small things he wants to remember. Quiet has a shape here, and he keeps it like a promise. He eats half a grapefruit, then toast with honey. He rinses his dish and turns it twice in the rack, so the water runs off the lip. These tiny habits were built over years, not from fear, but from reverence. After Margaret died, he kept the rituals because they steadied him. Her mug is faded at the rim where her thumb used to rest. He places his own thumb there sometimes and feels steadier still. The house answers with soft noises, the furnace clicking on, the clock in the hall counting even time. He keeps a ledger the way some people keep a diary. Not secrets, just facts. He notes miles on the car, gallons on the water bill, dates of batteries changed in smoke alarms. A neat column lists cash withdrawn and cash returned. In the margin, he writes why he spent it and what problem it solved. Pages of reasonable decisions add up to a life he understands. It is not perfection. It is accountability to himself. It is the quiet he is always trying to preserve. 4 years ago, that quiet began to fray. Lena called one evening with a voice bright and brittle. "Temporary," she said. "Just a month until Caleb's new job starts." The spare room was ready. Victor kept it neat because neatness felt like love when nothing else could be done. They arrived with 3 suitcases, said thank you, and returned the next day with a truck and apologies. Storage fell through. Just for now, Dad. He told himself he could bend for a month. The month learned to stretch. Little boundaries slipped first. Victor labeled shelves in the garage. Caleb relabeled them and moved the sockets into coffee tins that looked clever but hid sizes. Victor's oil can vanished, replaced by a brand he did not buy. The lawnmower came back with a different blade. The workbench collected projects that were not his. When he asked, Caleb laughed and called it optimizing. In the kitchen, Lena rearranged the drawers so the silverware faced her preference. She said it saved steps. He learned to open 3 drawers before finding a spoon. He told himself that accommodation is a form of love. Love, he learned, is also a door you must sometimes close. Then came the favors that sounded like family and acted like bills. Rent was promised but delayed. A bridge loan to cover their deposit turned into 2 more for unexpected fees. Victor wrote each amount in his ledger and circled the word bridge because bridges are supposed to lead somewhere. Lena needed help with a car payment after a banking error. Caleb borrowed the sedan to meet a contractor and returned it empty with a parking ticket tucked under the wiper. Victor paid the fine because the mailbox shows dates, and he has always believed in paying what is due. Groceries shifted too. Victor watched bacon and berries multiply on receipts while vegetables and oatmeal went untouched. He stocked both, a compromise he could absorb. Saturdays he found unfamiliar beer in his recycling bin. Sunday nights, Lena asked if he could float the coming week until Caleb's commission cleared. Always the word almost. The commission almost closed. The client almost paid. Victor's columns filled with dates and notes, a careful record of almosts. He swallowed. Protest because arguing turned the house loud and he could not live inside loud. Instead, he kept track. He kept track of missing dish towels that reappeared as rags in the garage. He kept track of dented corners on baseboards where furniture had been dragged without lifting. He kept track of Caleb's habit of taking Victor's coffee mug because it was bigger, and of Lena's habit of leaving the front door unlatched when she went to the mailbox. Small things, maybe. But small things are the edges of larger shapes. On a high shelf in his closet sits a fireproof box, heavier than it looks. Inside, Victor keeps originals. The deed with the ink still sharp, the will with witness signatures, the insurance policies that prove calm planning, the mortgage release that once felt like a medal. He also keeps 3 pages of his signature written on different days, slow and deliberate, with a note at the top that reads, handwriting exemplar. Beside the files lies a folded sticky note from years back. Margaret wrote it and smiled when she stuck it to the lid. When in doubt, document. He closes the lid and breathes. Quiet is paid for. He intends to keep it. Every single day. Lena arrives with a bright smile and a manila envelope pressed to her chest like a gift. Morning, Dad. We thought it was best to show you everything at once. She lays the envelope on Victor's placemat so the return address faces him, a downtown law firm he recognizes. Caleb follows and posts himself at the counter, arms folded. Victor opens the envelope with his thumb, neat and slow. Heavy paper slides out, watermarked letterhead, a cover page stacked with words meant to intimidate, demand for payment, notice of acceleration. Behind it, statements in tight columns, totals that climb, and pages labeled casino marker for places he has never entered. His name sits at the bottom of each page in hard black ink. Here is the situation, Caleb says, tapping a figure with 2 fingers. These balances have matured. If they are not satisfied by Monday, liens can attach. That means the house. We cannot let that happen. If a wire goes today, they will hold action. We are not blaming you, Dad, Lena says, voice softened to the same volume she used in 4th grade when she wanted ice cream before dinner. Maybe someone talked you into a bad night. Maybe it started small. What matters is, we fix it together. Otherwise, we will all lose the house. She touches his wrist, then the stack. Victor reads. He reads past the big fonts to the small tells. An account opened on January 15th sits beneath an application dated March 2nd. Some pages spell February, others abbreviate it. A marker number repeats on 2 different nights. One signature has the old flourish he stopped using after Margaret teased him for it. The ink is an oil-heavy black he does not own. The letterhead lists a suite number wrong by 1. The watermark rides too near the margin, a home printer's habit. Caleb fills the doorway to the hall. We caught the calls before they upset you. Collectors were circling. You did not pick up because you were embarrassed. I understand. Monday is non-negotiable. If we move funds now, I can keep them at bay. His tone expects compliance. He shifts his weight like a bouncer closing a lane. We kept your phone quiet, he adds, because stress is bad for your heart. I spoke to a supervisor. They will accept a partial if you show good faith today. After that, court, fees, embarrassment. Reporters sometimes check filings. You don't want your name in a notice, do you? It spirals fast from there. Lena slides a page toward Victor with her nail. I called the bank. You can pull a cashier's check for the largest marker and set up payments on the rest. Caleb and I will help with groceries and utilities while you catch up. We just need to act now. If we wait, it gets ugly. Please, Dad, we cannot lose the house. Victor lifts the page she pushed and holds it to the window. The watermark stutters. He lowers it and places the stack flat again. The demand letter repeats Monday 6 times in 3 paragraphs. Urgency bought in bulk. His hand finds Margaret's mug, warm on the table. These are not mine, he says, voice even. I did not open these accounts. I did not sign these markers. I have never been to these casinos. He taps the blackest signature. And I do not write with this ink. The kitchen cools. Caleb's mouth smiles without his eyes. Memory is tricky, he says, feigning concern. We have all been through a lot. Paperwork gets messy. Dates blur. That is why we are here. Let us be practical. You have the funds. We have a plan. The problem is the deadline. Think about everything we have shared in this house, Lena says, smoothing his napkin. Birthdays, holidays. If you pay today, we keep our home safe. Victor looks at her until she looks away. Number. Be careful, Caleb says, the softness gone. The firms will file. They will come for assets. Monday does not move. He steps closer, shadow crossing the placemat. You can do this the easy way or the hard way. I will not pay forged debts, Victor says. Call whoever you like. I will speak to officers, not collectors, and to counsel, not to you. He gathers the papers, aligns their edges, and sets the envelope on the counter like something he refuses to wear. Lena blinks as if light has changed. Her gaze flicks to the coffee pot on the warmer, then back to his face. The air grows tight. Caleb drums a slow rhythm on the table and stops. The clock in the hall counts a long second. The room holds its breath around a boundary that has just returned to its rightful place. Family fixes family, Caleb says, the words clipped like a warning. He plants himself in the kitchen doorway, one shoulder against the frame, his crossed arms widening to make a wall. You sign, we wire. This ends. Simple. Family tells the truth, Victor answers. He keeps his voice level, the way he used to keep torques even on a stubborn bolt. Those signatures aren't mine. Those dates don't match. You know it. Lena's bright tone curdles. We are trying to save your home. You're being stubborn for pride. You don't even see how bad this is. Her hand flutters toward the stack, then freezes, shaking. Caleb's smile flattens. Every hour you stall raises fees. Monday is a cliff. He leans forward, door still blocked. Be reasonable, old man. Victor stands. I won't pay forged paper. Move. No, Caleb says, and the refusal is a shove without hands. The room tightens. The furnace hums. Steam curls from the coffee maker as if it's listening. Lena turns, fast and jagged, and lifts the pot off the warmer. Her eyes are dry now, her breath quick. "You won't let them ruin us," she says, as if reciting a line. "Will you?" Victor sees the arc before he feels it, a brown ribbon catching October light. Then heat detonates across his chest. The burn claws through flannel and skin. He stumbles back, chair scraping, breath punching out of him like a struck bell. "Get out, old man," Caleb says, low and satisfied. "Take your pride with you." Victor braces a hand on the table, the other lifting his shirt from burned skin so it won't stick. He looks at Lena. She is still holding the empty pot as if it might refill itself with a different outcome. He inhales through his nose, slow. Outrage wants the room. He does not invite it. He turns to the sink, opens the cold tap, and soaks a dish towel, laying it across the worst of the burn. The shock steadies him. The radio is still murmuring the weather. He notes it. "Time," he says, glancing at the clock. 8:12. He says it aloud for himself. Then he reaches for his phone with clean hands, taps the camera, and takes 3 quick photos. The splashed documents, the dripping pot, the red skin above his collarbone. Caleb shifts again, blocking. "No pictures. Put that down." Victor lowers the phone, not because he's told to, but because he has what he needs. He picks up the envelope with 2 fingers at the corners and slides it into a clean gallon bag from the drawer. He seals it. His motions are small and precise. Evidence over argument. "Move," he says again. Caleb doesn't. "You've got 5 minutes to pack your slippers," he sneers. "After that, I throw your junk on the lawn." Victor studies him as if he were a misfiring part. Then he takes the wet towel from his chest and folds it once more to cool the skin. He keeps his tone calm. "I am going to treat these burns. I am going to collect my documents. And then I am going to make a call." "To who?" Lena spits. "Your bridge club. To people who answer to facts." He steps toward the hall. Caleb shifts to block, but Victor angles past him without touching. A sidestep learned from shop aisles too narrow for 2. In his bedroom, he opens the closet shelf, slides out the fireproof box, and checks what matters. Deed, will, exemplars. Still there. He adds the sealed bag with the forged papers. He changes into a fresh shirt, cotton smooth on angry. Skin back in the kitchen, Lena has set the pot in the sink, hands trembling now that heat has cooled. Caleb watches with a hunter's patience, calculating. Victor takes his keys and wallet. He lifts Margaret's mug and sets it in the rack, one small order restored. Then he looks at them both until they look away. "I'll be back with officers," he says, and walks out the back door into clean air that doesn't lie. Victor slips out the back door, and the October air meets the burn like cool cloth. The maple leaves rattle. He crosses the yard along the fence line he has painted every other spring. The boards are straight. The gate latch clicks without protest, small proofs that order can still hold. He walks the narrow strip behind the garages and steps onto Mr. Alvarez's stoop. The knock is steady, 2 short taps, then 1. Mr. Alvarez opens wearing a flannel robe and socks. His eyebrows rise when he sees Victor's open collar and the red bloom at his throat. "Come in." The kitchen smells of bacon and toast. A bear's mug sweats steam on the table beside the morning paper. "Sit." He pulls out a chair and reaches for a clean dish towel. Victor sits, careful with the shirt fabric. He lays the facts out like parts on a bench. Lena brought a manila envelope. Law firm, letterhead, casino markers, my name. Caleb said it must be paid by Monday, or they would take the house. I said no. She threw coffee. He told me to get out. No drama lives in his voice, only sequence and weight. Mr. Alvarez runs the towel under cold water and hands it over. Press, not rub. He opens the refrigerator, finds a bottle of aloe, and slides it across the table. My wife kept this for sunburns. It helps. He flips the stove knob to low, moves the bacon pan aside, and sets another bear's mug under the coffee maker. He doesn't ask questions that waste time. Victor continues. The signatures were wrong. The ink was wrong. Dates didn't match. I took pictures. I sealed their papers in a bag. I grabbed my fireproof box. Then I came here. He looks at his hands. She is my daughter. Mr. Alvarez nods once, and what they did is not a family argument. He gestures to the dish towel. This is crime, not conflict. He counts on his fingers. Identity theft if they used your name to open accounts, forgery on the signatures, fraud on the markers, assault with that coffee, attempted illegal eviction with the get-out, likely elder exploitation. He holds Victor's gaze. You are not calling to complain about noise. You are reporting felonies. The words land with relief more than shock. Victor breathes deeper. I don't want to ruin her life. She is ruining it herself, Mr. Alvarez says, calm but firm. The safest thing you can do is bring officers while the evidence is fresh and the suspects are still in your house. He opens a drawer, pulls out a small spiral notebook, and uncaps a pen. Start with time. When did the envelope hit the table? 8:12, Victor says. He repeats the number as if setting the torque. The pot was thrown at 8:14, give or take. The towel goes cool. He shifts it and notes the change. They blocked the doorway. Caleb said Monday 6 times. The letterhead had the wrong suite number. He recites the details he collected without knowing why he would need them. Mr. Alvarez writes as fast as Victor talks. He circles the wrong suite number and underlines Monday. Good. Facts travel well. He rips a page free and pushes it toward Victor. Read this to the dispatcher if you freeze. Then he lifts a beige landline handset from its cradle on the wall and sets it on the table. Use this. They can't interrupt by killing your cell signal or snatching your phone. Speak slowly. Say you're injured. Say the suspects are present. Say you have physical evidence sealed and protected. Victor looks at the phone, then at the back window that frames his fence and the roofline of his own kitchen. He thinks of Margaret's sticky note. When in doubt, document. He nods. Any weapons in the house? Mr. Alvarez asks. None that I saw. Tools, kitchen knives, nothing out. Good. We'll tell them that. We'll also tell them you have a neighbor witness. I will stand with you. Victor wraps the towel again, steadies his breath, and lifts the handset. 911. The dial tone hums like a level line. He begins to press the numbers, voice ready to carry facts the whole way across. Victor dials from Mr. Alvarez's landline. 911. What is your emergency? My name is Victor Hale. I'm at my neighbor's house. I was assaulted in my home by my daughter and her husband. Hot coffee was thrown on me during an argument about forged debts. The suspects are still at my residence next door. Are you injured, sir? Yes. Superficial burns to chest and neck. I cooled the area with water and a towel. I can breathe normally. I do not need an ambulance unless officers advise it, but I would like a medical check. Are the suspects present now? Yes. Lena Hale, female, 35, 5'7", brown hair in a ponytail, gray sweater, black jeans. Caleb Rohn, male, 37, 6 feet, athletic build, dark beard, navy hoodie, work boots. They blocked the doorway and threatened me. He told me to get out of my own house. Any weapons in the home, kitchen knives and tools, no firearms to my knowledge. The coffee pot was used as a weapon. Where are you calling from? Mr. Alvarez's address behind my property. I am safe here with a witness. My house is the blue one with the maple in front. The forged paperwork is sealed in a clear gallon bag on my person. I took photos of the scene and my injuries on my phone. The suspects may try to hide or destroy documents left on the table. Please spell the names. Victor spells each letter. The dispatcher repeats them, records dates of birth, obtains Victor's callback number, and logs his own description for identification. Tell me exactly what happened. Victor gives the timeline without heat. Lena presented an envelope with a law firm, letterhead and casino markers. Caleb said everything had to be paid by Monday, or I would lose the house. I identified mismatched dates and signatures in ink I do not use. I refused to pay. Lena threw scalding coffee. Caleb ordered me to leave. I collected evidence, secured originals from my fireproof box, and exited through the back gate. What time did the incident occur? The envelope was placed at 8:12. The coffee was thrown at approximately 8:14. Do you believe the suspects will flee? Number. They believe I am complying. They may be gathering more papers. They do not know I have called. Officers are en route, the dispatcher says. 2 units will meet you at Mr. Alvarez's address and coordinate a safe approach to your residence. Do not return home. If the suspects attempt to contact you, remain inside and call again. Do you consent to prosecution for domestic battery and related offenses? Yes. I want to make a formal report and provide the evidence. I am creating a case number. The dispatcher reads a series of numbers and letters. Victor writes it on Mr. Alvarez's notepad and repeats it back. A medical unit will also evaluate your burns. Stay on the line until officers arrive. He notes the case number twice, printing it clearly beneath the timestamps on paper. Victor breathes with the dispatcher's cadence. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The steadiness helps. He answers intake questions as they come. Any prior assaults by the suspects? Number. Any restraining orders on file? Number. Any security cameras? No interior, but a doorbell camera facing the porch. He gives the access code and permission to download clips. Any alcohol or drugs involved? None. Any witnesses besides Mr. Alvarez? None present. Do you have photo identification? Yes. Driver's license in my wallet. Deed and will in the fireproof box. Handwriting exemplars available. The dispatcher acknowledges and logs each item. She asks who will meet the officers. Victor says he will, with Mr. Alvarez at his side. She confirms the officers' call signs, arrival time, and the staging point at the alley. A faint radio clicks as she relays updates. Sir, units are 1 minute out, she says. You will hear a knock and a clear announcement. Do not open for anyone else. Understood. She pauses, then adds in a softer register. You did the right thing calling. Victor looks to Mr. Alvarez. The older man nods, firm and warm. You're not betraying family. You're protecting yourself. You're protecting your home. Victor's hand is steady when the first patrol car turns onto the block. He thanks the dispatcher, repeats the case number, and ends the call as red and blue light sweeps across the kitchen tile, like a promise to be kept. Red and blue wash across Mr. Alvarez's kitchen. A firm knock, then clear voices at the back door. Police. Victor Hale. Mr. Alvarez. Step outside, please. Hands visible. Victor opens, case number ready, towel folded at his collar. 2 officers. Move with practiced calm, one speaking while the other scans the yard and alley. I'm Officer Reyes. This is Officer Donovan. Are you Victor? Yes. Briefly, tell me what happened. Victor gives one line. My daughter threw hot coffee on me during an argument over forged debts, and her husband ordered me out of my home. Reyes's eyes go to the visible redness at Victor's neck. We'll photograph those in a moment. Do we have your consent to enter your home? Yes. I am the owner, and I consent to a walkthrough and evidence collection. He points to the gate. The blue house with the maple. Donovan radios the approach. Reyes keeps Victor with her and positions Mr. Alvarez a pace to the side. You'll both remain here while we separate the parties. No one else speaks to them until I say so. Copy. At the back steps of Victor's house, Donovan announces again. Police. Come to the kitchen, hands where I can see them. Caleb appears first, shoulders squared, jaw tight. Lena follows, face composed, eyes darting. Donovan stations Caleb on the porch, palms on the rail. Reyes guides Lena to a chair in the living room, visible from the kitchen but apart. Separation holds. Reyes returns to Victor. Photos of your injuries now. She raises her body camera for context, then uses a phone-sized department camera. Front, left profile, right. Victor lifts the towel and the shirt collar. She murmurs measurements, angles, timestamp, 8:29. He steadies his breathing. The click of evidence work quiets his chest. Inside the kitchen, Donovan begins a slow circle. Cabinets, floor, table. Coffee splatter arcs across the white doors above the sink. Brown drops stipple the cream tile. A darker pool halos the spot where Victor stood. He photographs each plane and places a numbered tent beside the largest splash. He aims at the stainless pot in the sink, still beaded with heat. He, donning gloves, lifts it by the handle into an evidence bag and labels it. He notes the warmer light still glowing. Reyes steps to the table. You said there were documents. Victor nods, sealed in a clear gallon bag in my inside pocket. I handled only the corners. She has him set it on the counter. She photographs the bag's exterior, then the papers through the plastic. She does not open it yet. Whose prints do you expect? Mine on the edges, Lena's and Caleb's on the pages. The ink on the signatures will matter. I do not use that type of pen. Reyes looks up. What type do you use? Blue-black gel pen, fine tip. The signatures on those pages appear in glossy black, likely ballpoint or roller. The strokes lack the pressure pattern in my exemplars. Exemplar. Yes. He points to the den hallway. Fireproof box on the bedroom shelf contains originals of my deed, will, and 3 autograph cards signed with my usual pen. You may compare. She writes it down, then logs the box's existence for a later search consent form. Donovan escorts Caleb to the far side of the porch. Tell me your name and date of birth, Caleb answers, then launches posture. He's confused. He spilled coffee on himself. He's got gambling issues he's hiding. We were staging an intervention. Donovan's face stays neutral. Did you throw coffee? I didn't touch him. Did she? Caleb's mouth twitches. He gestures toward the kitchen. Ask her. Reyes keeps her tone even with Lena. Your name and date of birth. Lena provides them clearly. Tell me what happened. We were trying to help my father pay debts before the house was taken. He got upset and knocked the pot. I never touched it. He's making this bigger than it is. Reyes nods once, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Did you handle the documents? I brought the envelope. He opened it. Did you touch the pages? I might have straightened them. Her voice is flat now, tears gone, edges showing. Reyes returns to Victor and Mr. Alvarez, who waits at the fence line. Mr. Hale, show me the bag placement and where each of you stood. Victor steps into the kitchen with her and points. I was here by the table. Lena stood there by the counter with the pot. Caleb blocked that doorway. He indicates distances. Donovan photographs Victor's hand, indicating each spot. Reyes marks them with small paper tents and logs a sketch on a pre-printed grid. She asks for Victor's phone. May I photograph your screen to capture the timestamps of your photos? Yes. He opens the gallery. 8:12 for the envelope on the placemat, 8:14 for the splatter in the pot. She photographs his screen beside the kitchen clock and notes the time differential. Donovan finishes his canvas and steps outside to radio a supervisor. Possible domestic battery with injury, potential financial crimes, requesting evidence tech for prints and latent lifts on documents and coffee pot. Holding scene. Caleb tries again, voice rising. You going to arrest an old man for lying to his own daughter? This is a family dispute. We can settle it. Reyes's answer is measured. We're here to document what happened and preserve evidence. Please do not interfere. Lena folds her arms. He's doing this to punish me. He's always controlled everything. Reyes writes only the words spoken, not the heat behind them, and keeps the room in order with calm. The work proceeds like a metronome. Facts first. Decisions later. Detective Rios arrives while the evidence tech powders the coffee pot handle. She introduces herself with a firm nod, then sets a slim laptop on Victor's dining table beside the sealed envelope. I'm going to follow the money and the clicks. She asks Victor for consent to access the home Wi-Fi router and his email for bank alerts. He signs without hesitation. Reyes witnesses the form. Donovan radios that the scene is secure. Rios kneels by the router in the hallway cabinet. She reads the stickered admin code aloud so Victor can confirm it. The dashboard opens to a list of recent connections. She scrolls through device names and MAC addresses, pausing at Roan Pixel, Roan Watch, and Lena iPad. She captures screenshots with timestamps and the public IP displayed in the corner. These 3 were active on your network during the last week, she says. She highlights a burst of traffic on Sunday afternoon, heavy data during the second quarter of the Bears game, and again during late-night NBA. That aligns with your account access alerts? Victor unlocks his email. He points to bank notices flagged as unusual activity. The subject lines stack like a heartbeat. Verification needed. Suspicious sign-in. Online transfer warning. He hasn't opened them. They sit unread at precise intervals. Rios photographs the inbox screens, then opens headers to capture routing information. She taps the IP field. Same public address as your router. No VPN masks. Sloppy. She examines the sealed bag without opening it, taking close photos of signatures through the plastic. Then she nods toward the hallway. You mentioned exemplars. Victor leads her to the fireproof box. Inside, labeled folders hold the deed, will, and 3 autograph cards he uses to test pens. Rios slips on new gloves and fans the cards. Blue-black gel ink, line weight consistent, natural speed. She sets one beside a photo of the forged signature on a loan application. The forged line looks glossy, ballpoint black, with tiny tremors near the curves and stops. If someone tried to simulate your hand, they probably traced stroke by stroke. See the hesitation at the start of your V and the unnatural pause before the hail loop. Simulation creates careful lines. Disguise creates awkward ones. These look simulated. She returns to the laptop. With Victor's consent, she opens the router log and exports a CSV. She filters by destination domains. One cluster jumps out. Login dot, SureBet, Playline, and Score Max. Betting apps. She marks the times. One at 12:58 p.m. Sunday, another at 3:22 p.m. Then a string between 10 p.m. and midnight. She asks Donovan to bring Caleb's phone from the porch for a consent check. Caleb refuses. Rios doesn't flinch. That's fine. We'll seek a warrant. For now, she asks Reyes to photograph Caleb's device make and model in plain view. Donovan notes Pixel 6, black case, paired smartwatch visible on his wrist. Rios writes the device model into her log and ties it to Roan Pixel in the router's history. Victor opens a folder on his phone labeled Screens. He had captured open windows Caleb left on the household computer. Rios scrolls through the images. Betting slip pages show username Roan_117, parlay totals, and the home IP at the footer. She captures each screen beside today's newspaper on the table to anchor date and context. She zooms in on a profile panel. Device ID AA3E-19F2-PIX6. She points to the router list where Roan Pixel ends with the same string. Device fingerprint matched. On a separate tab, she opens loan portals linked from the envelope documents. She requests the application PDFs through customer support using Victor's legal right to his records. 2 arrive quickly. She skims the security questions. Mother's first job, favorite childhood pie, name of first stuffed animal. Victor answers quiet and exact. Margaret's first job was the library desk. She always said cherry pie for birthdays, but I hate cherry. And the stuffed animal was Juniper, a lavender rabbit only Lena named and only she would remember. Rios writes a single line. Security answers indicate insider knowledge unique to daughter. She photographs the application metadata where the submissions originate from Victor's IP with a device string corresponding to Lena iPad. Bank alerts show 2 auto-rejection emails. Victor had set text alerts to his phone last year. Rios checks his carrier log and sees the change. Alerts redirected 3 months ago to a secondary number ending in 63. She asks Victor if that number is his. He shakes his head. Donovan asks Lena. She stares past him. Rios marks it. Alert diversion suggests intentional concealment. The evidence tech steps in with a powder lift from the coffee pot handle. 2 clean partials, 1 thumb, 1 index. We'll compare to prints if we get them. Rios nods and adds, request latent on envelope flap and inner pages. She returns to the table and lays out the timeline in clear blocks. 8/12, envelope delivered. 8/14, coffee thrown. Past 30 days, multiple betting logins from your IP during live games. Device IDs match Caleb's hardware. Loan applications originate from your network on dates when Caleb's Pixel and Lena's iPad were connected. Security answers align with facts only Lena would supply. Bank alerts to you were diverted to a number not yours. You preserved the originals and provided exemplars. She raises her eyes to Victor. This isn't a misunderstanding. She steps onto the porch where Caleb waits, jaw tight, and Lena sits with arms crossed. Detective Rios's voice is even. Here is what we have today. Access to betting sites from this home's IP with device identifiers consistent with your phone, Mr. Rohn. Loan applications submitted from this network using security answers tied to your wife's childhood, Mrs. Hale. A paper trail of forged signatures that do not match natural writing or ink. Bank alerts routed away from the account holder, and a physical assault documented by photographs and witness statement. Caleb opens his mouth to bluster. Rios lifts a palm. Save it for counsel. She turns to Reyes. This is elder financial exploitation with identity theft and assault. We'll book on domestic battery today. I'll draft the financial warrants and loop in the state's attorney for additional charges. She looks back to Victor. You did everything right. You documented. You preserved. You asked for help. Now let the papers speak. Probable cause is established, Detective Rios says. Officer Reyes steps to Lena's side. Lena Hale, you are under arrest for domestic battery. Hands behind your back. The cuffs close, controlled, and final. She stares at Margaret's recipe magnet as if ink could change the moment. Officer Donovan moves to the porch. Caleb Rohn, you are under arrest for identity theft and fraud. Hands where I can see them. Miranda warnings follow in steady cadence for both. Rios keeps a clean line between them while an evidence tech seals the coffee pot and tags the envelope. A property hold is placed on documents and electronics. Nothing leaves without supervision. Reyes opens a department tablet. Mr. Hale, I'm filing for an emergency order of protection. We can reach the on-call judge now. I need your sworn statement and consent to attach photos. Victor answers each prompt slowly, describing the envelope, the demand, the scalding coffee, and the threat to evict him. Reyes attaches images of the burns and the splatter on the floor, uploads the packet, and dials the court line on speaker. The judge takes jurisdiction, confirms Victor's identity, and swears him in over the line. Victor affirms. The order is granted. Reyes reads the terms, so there is no confusion. Lena Hale and Caleb Rowan shall have no contact with Victor Hale by any means. They shall vacate and stay away from the residence and its curtilage. A 100-yard radius applies to home, vehicle, and workplace. Temporary possession of the home, keys, and documents is awarded to Victor. Violations are arrestable. Donovan serves each respondent with a printed copy, time-stamped and signed. Firearms inquiry, Rios says. Any guns in the home or vehicles? Victor answers no. Donovan asks Lena and Caleb separately. Lena shakes her head, mute now. Caleb refuses to answer. Reyes conducts a quick consent sweep of the usual locations, notes the negative finding, and marks the order's firearms section. None possessed, none surrendered. Transport arrives. Donovan guides Caleb to the curb car, checks the cuffs, and helps him inside. Reyes walks Lena to the second unit, steadying her on the step. Rios lists booking charges for the record. Domestic battery causing bodily harm for Lena, with enhancement for an elder victim. Identity theft, forgery, and attempted theft by deception for Caleb, pending review by the state's attorney. The cars pull away, lights low, and the block exhales. Rios turns back to Victor. Here's your safety plan. You will receive custody and release notifications by text and email. We've enrolled you. If either one calls from jail or after release, do not answer. If they appear, do not engage. Call 911 and state you have an active order. Patrol will flag your address for extra attention this week. Victim services will reach out within 24 hours. She hands him a card, a copy of the order with the judge's stamp and the case number written large. Locksmith Ortiz pulls up in a white van marked Mobile Reiki. Donovan meets him at the walk. 2 new deadbolts, reinforced strike plates, a keyed knob for the side door, and a keypad for the front. Ortiz says, lifting his tool bag. Brass shavings catch the kitchen light as he swaps cylinders. He resets the garage entry, installs the keypad, teaches Victor the code, and shows him how to clear fingerprints. He bags the old hardware for evidence, each bag marked with the address and time. 4 new keys drop into Victor's palm. 1 is handed to Mr. Alvarez as backup. Rios walks a final loop with Victor. Window latches engage. The router cabinet closes with a small padlock. The fireproof box returns to the bedroom shelf beside the signature folder. She places a bright sticker on the hallway phone with the case number and her direct line. "This house is yours," she says. Ortiz tapes the receipt to the fridge and leaves a magnetized spare key safe on the inside pantry wall. Reyes reviews the order again at the threshold. You can authorize a supervised pickup of their clothing later, if you choose. We schedule it. An officer stands by and nothing leaves except what you approve. Until then, the property hold remains. She gestures to the idling patrol unit at the corner. We'll sit on the block for a while to make sure word doesn't travel faster than the paperwork. Victor stands just inside the doorway and tests the new deadbolt. The slide sounds solid, like a statement. In the window glass, patrol lights fade to pale October afternoon. Mr. Alvarez touches Victor's shoulder once and slips back to his kitchen. Rios gives a final nod. You called, you documented, you acted. Let the order hold the line now. The door closes on quiet that feels earned, not fragile. Assistant State's Attorney Mina Kim files charges in a neat stack. Domestic battery against Lena Hale, identity theft, forgery, attempted theft by deception, and financial exploitation of an elderly person against Caleb Rohn. The clerk calls case numbers. Judge Ellison reads, then looks to counsel. Counsel, appearances. Kim for the people, public defenders for each defendant. Victor sits second row beside Mr. Alvarez, gauze at his collar. Detective Rios waits near the aisle with a case file and a red-tagged flash drive. The arraignment moves without heat. Judge Ellison asks if defendants understand the charges and penalties. Yes, Your Honor. Kim summarizes in clipped neutral lines. Envelope with forged instruments. Coffee thrown, documented burns. Router logs tying betting and loan applications to the residence. Security answers unique to the daughter. Device identifiers linked to the son-in-law. Bank alerts diverted from the victim. Defense asks for recognizance bonds. Kim requests cash bail and strict conditions. Judge Ellison leans toward the microphone. We are not here to punish before trial. We are here to protect before trial. She sets bail modest, firm, and layers conditions. No contact with Victor Hale, direct or indirect, including third-party messages or anonymous notes. Do not return to the residence or its curtilage. Surrender passports. Weekly check-ins. No firearms. Discovery follows. Kim serves flash drives. Device logs exported from the router with addresses labeled and matched. Screenshots of betting sessions with device IDs that correspond to Caleb's phone and watch. A handwriting report overlaying Victor's authentic signature with the imitations, pointing to hesitation marks and unnatural pen lifts. Credit pulls showing fresh applications in Victor's name on days when both defendants' devices were active on his network. Kim reads a sample for clarity. Monday is best. They say Monday scares banks. Show him numbers while he is eating. Keep your voice calm. If he resists, cry. If he still says no, let me talk. We need panic before noon. Defense objects to the tone reading. Judge Ellison allows it for bond context. The courtroom absorbs the meaning. At a preliminary hearing, Kim calls Detective Rios. Rios testifies in straight lines. She explains the router timeline, the fact that the public address on Victor's email alerts matches the logins to betting and lending sites, and the match between the device fingerprint on the betting profile and the device seen on Caleb's wrist at arrest. She identifies the coffee pot and notes partial prints on its handle. Rios's chain of custody notes document where each artifact was stored and when it moved securely. Defense cross-examines, hunting for gaps. Rios concedes the network was shared but reminds counsel that device identifiers are specific and that the text messages place planning inside the house with the defendant's own words. Judge Ellison nods once, satisfied the probable cause threshold is met. The case advances. In chambers, counsel explore resolution. Caleb's public defender opens with bluff confidence. No priors of note, minor scuffle, misunderstandings. Kim slides a sheet across the table. Certified copy of a deferred adjudication on a check fraud case from 2 years ago and a probation violation notice. The color drains from counsel's face. Pattern evidence, Kim says. Financial deceit is not new to your client. Lena's counsel tries another angle. Caregiver stress, family confusion. Kim points to the photo of Victor's burns, then to a line in the affidavit. He is the title holder and payer of every utility. Caregiving did not happen here. Demanding money did. By the next setting, plea posture shifts. Defense asks for time to review the digital package. Kim supplements discovery with a letter from a sportsbook compliance officer confirming the username tied to Caleb accessed accounts from Victor's address during 6 live games in the past month. She adds bank records showing 2 failed transfers where security alerts were redirected to a number registered to Lena's email. She attaches the handwriting expert's second report, including practice sheets from Lena's desk and overlays that show slow starts and stops at each forged curve. Caleb's gambling debts surface through bankruptcy filings and creditor letters that show an arc from small wagers to 4-figure parlays, then to informal loans with usury interest. Kim notices the judge reading those pages closely. She marks them for later foundation to show motive and pattern. A motion hearing addresses what the jury can hear. Defense seeks to exclude the text thread and the earlier fraud case. Kim argues relevance. The thread establishes intent and plan. The prior check case, resolved without conviction, is admissible for knowledge and absence of mistake when weighed with near-identical mechanisms. Judge Ellison writes, then rules with careful language. The court will admit the planning messages. The court will admit the prior incident for the limited purpose of knowledge and absence of mistake, with a limiting instruction at trial. When invited, Victor rises. He does not dramatize. He confirms his name, age, and that the house and utilities are his. He states that he did not authorize loans, gambling accounts, or changes to alert settings. He describes the coffee hitting his chest and the instruction to get out of his own kitchen. He says he is safe now because orders and locks hold. That is all. Judge Ellison's voice softens, but her words hold weight. Care for a parent is not license over a parent. Help is requested, not seized. Money is consent, not inheritance. She looks from counsel to the defendants. The law is not angry here. It is clear. The calendar moves forward. A trial date is set with time for written plea offers. Kim notes that any plea must include restitution for the locksmith, medical copays, and documented costs tied to credit repair. Defense nods without comment. Outside the courtroom, Mr. Alvarez squeezes Victor's shoulder. Paper is slow, he says, but paper is strong. Victor breathes in the quiet hall air and lets the building's calm do what it was built to do. Caleb's consequences arrive before the ink dries. The morning after arraignment, his foreman leaves a voicemail citing company policy on integrity-sensitive felonies. By lunch, HR sends the separation notice and deactivates his badge. The job phone goes dark. A week later, the union rep confirms probation from his prior case makes an appeal pointless. The car follows the job. At dawn, a tow truck settles at the curb, hydraulics sighing. The driver, polite and practiced, reads a repossession order and a balance sheet that does not care about explanations. The ratchet clicks, the sedan lifts, and neighbors watch through curtains. Bankruptcy arrives like weather. With a public defender's help, Caleb files Chapter 7 listing gambling accounts, credit cards, and 2 private loans. Names Victor recognizes from texts Detective Rios preserved. The petition shows almost no assets and a stack of unsecured debt. The trustee sets a short date and tells him to bring identification. The stay pauses civil suits but not criminal counts or the order that keeps him a street away from Victor's gate. The messages that started everything do not stop. Loan shark texts, printed by the state as context, keep buzzing new numbers. Pay by Friday, or we visit. He changes phones, motels, then hides in a shelter where the address is unlisted. He learns to walk everywhere. He keeps his head down whenever a black SUV idles near the corner. Lena's consequences flow in a different channel. Judge Ellison accepts a negotiated sentence. 18 months of probation with an elder abuse condition, 24 weeks of anger management, 200 hours of community service, restitution for locksmith work and copays, and a financial literacy class. She signs each page, the pen shaking when the clerk repeats no contact with Victor, direct or indirect. Probation brings structure. Ms. Diaz sets weekly check-ins, surprise visits, curfew, and testing. She highlights the no-contact order in neon ink. The first violation lands within days, when Lena leaves 2 daisies on Victor's porch before sunrise. A neighbor photographs the flowers and forwards the case number. Officers knock before breakfast. Ms. Diaz files a violation notice. The second violation is quieter. A friend messages Victor asking him to hear Lena out. Screenshots go to ASA Kim. The friend admits Lena wrote the text. Judge Ellison extends probation by 30 days and adds 20 service hours. Ms. Diaz gives Lena an empty chair exercise. When you want to reach for the phone, sit, picture me here, and practice what you will do instead. Friends and relatives form their own tribunal. People who heard only Lena's version drift to Mr. Alvarez's fence. He points them to facts. Court orders exist, police reports exist, medical photos exist. With each link shared, the story corrects itself. A cousin who once sent sympathy stops by Victor's gate to apologize. An aunt brings a pie and leaves a note. Truth takes time, but it arrives. The neighborhood adjusts. At church, the pastor prays for boundaries that protect love. The HOA bulletin explains the patrol car as increased safety after an incident. Gossip loses oxygen. Victor walks his block at dusk. People wave without prying. Children on scooters notice only the new keypad lock that beeps. Lena looks for work and finds forms that sort applicants by convictions. Ms. Diaz places her at a thrift store that accepts community service hours and hires part-time after 90 days. She sweeps floors, sorts donations, and learns to clock in early. She learns the register, balances the drawer, and saves receipts. The manager writes progress on her evaluation. Caleb stops calling. The shelter board advertises gambling counseling. He walks by it for a week, then 2. Afternoons, he sits at the library reading job sites that will not hire him. Nights, he listens for footsteps in hallways he cannot control. He writes a letter he does not send that begins, "I'm sorry." Victor's life steadies. Bills arrive in his name only. The bank restores fraud alerts and mails a kit with a checklist. He completes every step and locks copies in the safe locksmith Ortiz recommended. He keeps a folder labeled restitution and clips the first receipt when the court payment posts. He thanks Mr. Alvarez for a sentence that became a rail in a storm. This is crime, not conflict. Relatives test the boundary and learn its shape. Victor answers calls that are calm and factual, then returns to his day. He answers no questions about the case, only points to the number. He cooks simple meals, tends the yard, and sleeps through the night. In the quiet, he understands something the kitchen heat hid. Consequences teach what pleading never did. The narrative returns to truth, and the house finally feels like home. Outside, October light settles on the porch, clear, cool, and forgiving at last. Locksmith Ortiz arrived just after sunrise with a canvas roll of tools and a steady patience. Victor met him with coffee and a printed work order at the door. New deadbolts on every exterior door, reinforced strike plates, a keypad at the kitchen entrance, and keyed knobs on the basement and garage. Ortiz moved in quiet loops, removing old hardware, fitting solid cores, testing each throw with a practiced shoulder. Each click felt like a sentence delivered. When the last door chimed, Victor walked the circuit himself. Back door secure, side door secure, garage service door secure. He pocketed one ring holding 2 keys and a small fob, lighter than the bunch he used to carry, heavier in meaning. The house seemed to exhale with him. He opened the garage and paused at the threshold. Drawers sat mismatched, sockets stranded, labels peeled by someone else's system. Victor rolled the bench to center and began returning order by touch and memory. The quarter-inch set to the left of the 3/8, Allen keys nested with metric apart from SAE. The torque wrench wiped and oiled and slipped back into its lined cradle. He relabeled every drawer in block print he had used since the plant and traced silhouettes on the pegboard so nothing could wander without notice. By noon, the garage looked like a blueprint again, clean, quiet, and honest. Inside, the scorch mark near the table drew his eye like a bruise. He filled a bucket, worked a gentle circle with a sponge, and watched the stain fade to a pale memory. He took the coffee maker apart, descaled it, replaced the cracked carafe with a sturdy one, and set Margaret's old mug back on its saucer. He did not hide the history. He removed its residue. On the kitchen table, he opened a new 3-ring binder and clicked in tabs he had labeled in pencil the night before. Utilities, insurance, banking, credit, internet, legal. He slid clear sleeves into each section with fresh confirmations. The electric account listed his email and phone. The gas company confirmed 2-factor codes by text and voice. The water bureau showed autopay from his account only. He signed the corner of each page and added today's date. He changed banking passwords again, longer this time, saved in a notebook he kept in a separate drawer, not in a browser. Alerts would ping him for any charge over $20, and new cards were on the way. He filed freeze confirmations from all 3 bureaus and placed a fraud alert with a renewal reminder on a yellow sticky note. A printed recovery plan slid behind the tab. At the top margin, he wrote the sentence he trusted most. When in doubt, document. Mr. Alvarez arrived at 2 with a compact safe and an anchor kit. They carried it to the bedroom closet, set it low against a stud, measured twice, and drilled pilot holes. Lag bolts bit down and the metal settled firm against the wall. Victor spun the dial, set a code, and tried it until muscle remembered the pattern. They sat on the bed for a breath that felt like a mile. What goes in Alvarez asked. The deed, Victor said, and he brought the folder from the fireproof box he had outgrown. The will, insurance declarations, the car title, birth certificate, passport, and the original mortgage satisfaction letter. He added signature exemplars saved from old employment packets and tax returns, a list of accounts with only the last 4 digits, a thumb drive with scans, and an envelope with emergency cash. He tucked in the restraining order and the card with the case number from Officer Martinez. He closed the door, spun the dial, opened it again, then closed it once more. Keys, Alvarez said. Who gets one now? Victor looked at the new ring in his palm, bright metal catching afternoon light. Me, he said. Just me. Maybe a sealed spare with Alvarez later. Maybe a code in the lawyer's envelope. But not today. The sentence warmed as it settled. The afternoon passed in practical grace. He reset the router and renamed the network to something that made him smile. He updated the doorbell app, replaced the porch camera batteries, and unpaired every device he did not recognize. He left a list of allowed addresses in the binder and walked room to room with a pen and a small pad. By 5, he had tightened 4 hinges, replaced a frayed cord, and hung the hallway frame straight for the first time in a year. When the light slanted gold across the dining room, he boiled pasta, warmed a jar of tomatoes he had canned in August, and set the table for one. The house held him, finally his. The phone rang just after 10, a clean chime without dread. Victor saw Mara's name from the travel desk and answered. A slot opened for next month, she said. 3 cities, winter menus, human stories. Can you take it? He looked at a calendar finally empty of crises. Yes, he said, I can take it. He went to the office and pressed the shelf's right edge. A narrow panel lifted, revealing the cubby he had built years ago. Inside lay a press wallet, a small camera, 2 lenses, and dog-eared notebooks. Envelopes labeled by year held checks, and deposit slips from work he had kept quiet. Independence had not needed witnesses. On the computer, he opened the account where freelance payments landed. The balance was whole. A folder marked Travel Reserve waited. He clicked an old line he had canceled during chaos. Coastal tasting tour, postponed. He typed one word beside it, rescheduled. Mara's brief arrived. Thursday arrival, Friday interviews, Saturday market, Sunday night column due. He redeemed miles for morning flights, chose an aisle seat, and booked a small hotel near the river. He forwarded confirmations, printed 2 copies, and slipped one into the kitchen binder and one into the safe. He cleaned the camera glass, charged batteries, and tested the recorder. He slid 2 new notebooks into his bag and clipped pencils to their spines. On a card, he wrote 3 prompts. What did you learn the hard way? Who taught you your hands? When do you know you're done? Mr. Alvarez knocked and found Victor at the printer. Going somewhere good? He asked. Work, Victor said. He handed Alvarez dates and the alarm company's number. If they cannot reach me twice, they'll call you. No keys, just calls. Alvarez nodded. Come back with stories. Back in the office, the false panel still sat open. Victor lifted a slim folder of clippings, letters from editors, and laminated badges from past festivals. He considered the cubby, then placed the folder behind a tab in the binder labeled Work. Some things no longer required hiding. He walked the house with a traveler's eye. Plants moved to light. Timers set. Mail hold confirmed. The suitcase came down, light and serviceable. Into it went weather layers, good shoes, the camera strap Margaret had stitched years ago. 1 clean shirt for the first dinner, 1 for the last. His phone pinged. Thank you for jumping in, Mara wrote. Headline should honor craft, not hype. He typed back. Craft lives in hands and heat. She sent the contract. He signed, saved the PDF, and printed the signature page for the safe. At the kitchen table, he looked at his life in simple stacks. Itinerary, contract, press card. the small camera that would see what his eye had trained to see. He thought of mornings when panic had filled this room. He felt no gloating. Boundaries had made space, and he would use it. Before dinner, he called Mara once more. If weather shifts, what's plan B? She laughed, relief in her voice. That's why I called you. You always bring a plan B. Then we're set, he said. He ended the call, shut the panel, and slid the shelf until the seam vanished. The house felt lighter again. Finally. He lingered on the account screen, scrolling through steady deposits and dividends. Years of quiet work had built a cushion to choose, not beg. He had never needed Lena's offers or Caleb's schemes. The numbers were ordinary and honest, the kind that keep a person free. In the cubby, he found a thin envelope, spare badge, cards, and a note in his neat hand. Guard the work that feeds your soul. He would still guard it, but not from himself. He made small, practical calls. He added Alvarez as secondary contact. With the alarm company and insurer, for calls, not keys. He set motion lights, placed watering spikes, and wrote his itinerary on a card for the safe beside the deed. He emailed himself copies and filed them where he would look first. On the desk sat an old notebook. Between tasting notes was a line Margaret had said when he once doubted a trip. Go. Bring something back that isn't a thing. He traced the sentence, closed the cover, and slid it into his bag. Later, he pinned the dates to the fridge with a small magnet shaped like an airplane. He rinsed Margaret's mug and set it to dry. Tomorrow, he would confirm the ride and pack the last cables. Tonight, he would eat simply and sleep. In the morning, he would leave a house that was his again and go do the work that had always been his. He booked the dates without apology and felt the inner click of a lock turning. Evenings settled softly over Victor's rooms, and the quiet had meaning again. He stood at the kitchen table where the scorch had been and spoke the sentence that would guide him. Silence isn't love. Boundaries are. He had tried the first one for years, swallowing protests, smoothing over scenes, accepting small trespasses because he believed that was kindness. The house had taught him otherwise. True kindness tells the truth and locks the door when the truth is refused. He finally named what he'd avoided. Elder abuse rarely begins with blows. It hides inside family language. It says we're just helping. It says you're forgetful. It says sign here, and we will handle the hard parts. It calls pressure concern and theft support. The antidote is plain speech and a record that cannot be argued with. Dates, signatures, screenshots, case numbers. Calm sentences said once and then acted upon. Lena and Caleb had believed access was affection and proximity was permission. They had mistaken Victor's patience for surrender and his love for weakness. The system had answered with process, not passion. He would remember that when the old ache tugged, when memory tried to rewrite events with softer ink. He would remember the coffee, the forged loops, the Monday panic manufactured like a cue, and he would remember how the air felt after the locks turned. Loving an adult child means loving a full person, not a permanent dependent. It invites responsibility and declines subsidy. It says here are the tools, here are numbers, here are the expectations. The rest is your work. It does not underwrite sabotage or call surrender support. It does not confuse being needed with being respected. Does help produce growth, or does it purchase control? If it shrinks the giver and empties the home of peace, it is not help. Victor promised Margaret as the light faded across the dining room. This house stays peaceful. That was how they had built it when money was thin and time was scarce. Peace by fairness. Peace by work, peace by clean hands, and the courage to say no. His yes would mean yes again. No more. Grudging yeses traded for temporary quiet. No more deals that cost dignity. A boundary had made space for honest agreement, even with himself. He would keep one line on the first page of the binder and on the first page of the next notebook. Your choices, your consequences. It was not anger, it was weather. Predictable, steady, and uninterested in speeches. He would offer what was his to give and refuse what was not. He would speak once and let the calendar, the bank, and the law finish the conversation. Tomorrow he would travel for work that sharpened his attention instead of guilt. He would notice hands at markets and steam in kitchens and the quiet pride of people who make things meant to be shared. He would bring those stories home, not as trophies, but as air the house could breathe. Mr. Alvarez would water the plants, the safe would hold the papers, and the lock would turn with a click he trusted. If one day a phone rang, with voice asking for a new kind of conversation, he would listen. Truth first, accountability second, then maybe coffee at the table that no longer bore a bruise. Until then, he owed no performance, only clarity. He had learned that love endures best when the door is strong. Boundaries do not punish, they protect the people inside them and the possibility of repair. In that protection, Victor found not revenge, but rest now. Evening gathers in the kitchen like a soft shawl. Victor turns the new deadbolt and hears the clean click that means the house is his again. He slides an envelope of boarding passes into the pocket of Margaret's old cookbook, the one smudged with vanilla and penciled notes in her tidy hand. On the counter, a small pan cools. He plates a simple dinner for one, sautéed greens and a piece of bread, and sets an extra plate across from him, not for Lena or Caleb, but for hope that minds its manners and asks before reaching. The room holds its breath, then exhales. He lights a single candle in the center of the table. The flame steadies without fuss and lifts a gentle halo over the clean wood. Outside, a neighbor's wind chime keeps slow time. Inside, the refrigerator hums like a quiet promise. Victor raises his glass of water and tastes nothing bitter. The chair opposite remains empty, ready when respect is ready. The cookbook leans against the backsplash like a lighthouse. The new lock cools under evening air. He eats, unhurried. The silence turns warm and stays, the kind that lets a man finish and finally rest. If your child handed you forged debts and demanded payment, would you pay or press report? In Victor's kitchen, a coffee pot became a weapon, a signature became a mask, and a boundary turned the room back into a home. Now I want to hear from you. What would you do, and what words would you use? Comment with the exact line you'll reach for the next time someone tries to make their choices your bill. Share a moment when you kept a boundary and what changed afterward. If this story resonated, tap like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss when truth meets paperwork and the quiet wins. Coming next, a niece moves in to help and registers the deed in her name. We will follow the trail from a county clerk's screen to 3 emails that could have vanished, to a camera doorbell that caught what a signature tried to hide. It is a guide to protecting the roof over your head without losing your heart. See you there, and until then, remember, your yes means yes, your no means no, and your records tell the story. Share this video with someone who needs backup today.